Hey everyone, Ridden here, and thank you for coming. And tonight we're going to be taking a deeper look at episode 6, the finale of season 1 of Marvel Studios' latest Disney Plus show, Hawkeye. Welcome back everyone, and my oh my, were we all not in for a treat this morning with the season, not series, finale of Hawkeye. There were a couple of things I definitely thought would happen and a couple of things I definitely thought wouldn't. And well, let's just get into it. So, coming into this week, the MCU fandom as a whole was already in a bit of a whirlwind following the opening weekend of Spider-Man No Way Home. And caught in the tailwind of it all was Hawkeye, as many people online began to circulate the idea that maybe we would see Spider-Man in the Hawkeye season finale. For the record, I was in no way one of these people. At the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, and this isn't going to spoil anything, we see Peter swinging over the ice rink and Holiday Tree in central New York near the Rockefeller Center that we've also become accustomed to seeing in the many trailers and promotional pieces for Hawkeye, which led to people believing this meant we would see the web slinger in the slightest of cameos in episode 6. I can theory craft with the best of them, and I just didn't see why on earth Marvel would go through everything that took place in No Way Home to just have Peter swinging through the final boss fights between and behind Kate, Clint, Yelena, and Kingpin. Nevertheless, it didn't happen, and unfortunately, much like with WandaVision, some people set themselves up for failure and to be disappointed, largely by their own devices. As this dominated the conversation of Hawkeye coming into this episode, I just thought that I would address it and get it out of the way. Getting to the episode, I was really hoping that Marvel would continue to follow the trend they set as of late, particularly with this series, of opening the show with the character of most interest generated from the prior week. And that's exactly what they did, as we're immediately treated to this shot of heavy footfalls aided by Kane. I can't even begin to tell you how elated I was when the episode opened in this way. Just getting to see Vincent D'Onofrio back in the flesh in the role of Kingpin completely did it for me. We don't get too much confirmation here as to who exactly Kate's mom Eleanor is in terms of the comics, as I know the popular belief is Madame Mask, but more so just a sense that her mom was a woman placed in a very difficult situation when Kate's father died, owing money to Wilson Fisk, which led to her mother and Fisk coming to a mutually beneficial business arrangement, and Eleanor now wants to end it as Kate has returned home and is now putting her in danger. I do like the fact that she drew the line at Kate, which was a somewhat redeeming moment for her in my opinion. We also got the reveal that it was in fact her that killed Armand, and that she did frame Jack for Sloan. This scene for me worked because Eleanor answers many of the open questions we had coming in, and by the end of it I still wasn't sure what iteration of Kingpin we were seeing.
What can I help you with, Eleanor? Which is why I'm a little confused where you're headed with this.
It's funny, isn't it? How even the best of men can be deceived by their true nature. It means that I'm not the Samaritan, that I'm not the priest, or the Levite, that I am the ill intent.
The episode did a very good job of not exactly giving us too much in terms of whether or not if this is the Kingpin we saw in Daredevil, or a completely different take altogether, just played by the same actor. D'Onofrio still emanates the same amount of charisma in the role, so regardless, it was good to have him back, and even better to have him open the episode. We also immediately got confirmation that he and Echo do share a similar relationship to the one in the comics, and that Echo has begun to distrust both Fisk and Kazi, and that they are both aware.
Here she is. I've seen you at the end of some tough matches. What's been going on?
I will say that I wish we gotten a bit more of the relationship between Kazi and Maya, as there was so many things going on this season. I feel that may have been one of the aspects that was shorted. We got enough to facilitate the storyline, but not so much that I could feel connected to the rift that begun to grow between them, and for the final moments between them at the end of the episode to matter or impact me. When Echo arrives and sees Kazi and Fist together, it was clear Fist's link to Maya was in fact similar to the one in the comics, as we see him begin to sign somewhat to communicate with Maya. I also really like the addition of Duquene to the character here, as that is also directly out of the comics and brings the character more in line with the representation we've seen. It was also interesting for us to see that Kate not only received a photo of her mother and Fist, but it seems she was able to view the conversation live. I'm sure by means of some crazy spy tech beholden to Yelena. And in what I perceive to be a pivotal moment in their relationship, Kate begins to melt down, and Clint lets her know that they're partners and that he's going to stick around as long as necessary to help her see this through. We also get to see Kate and Clint create more trick arrows, which we knew would eventually have to happen, as Hawkeye doesn't just have an unlimited supply sitting around somewhere. This was necessary development, in my opinion, for both Kate and Clint, and it really built on the chemistry the series has been working so hard at molding between the two of them. We even got a Stark Industries cameo here, and Kate finally got the chance to tell Clint just how much he has meant to her in her journey so far.
When I was younger, aliens invaded, and I was alone. And I was terrified. But then I saw you. Fighting aliens with a stick and a string. If he could do that, then I didn't have to be scared.
The episode and the season, for that matter, all come to a head at Eleanor's holiday party at the Rockefeller Center, which we know in the Daredevil series Fist eventually bought. I love the climax here because we got to see so many interactions amongst the various characters, biggest of which of course was Clint and Yelena. I also have really liked the back and forth relationship we've seen between Kate and Yelena, and the scenes of them fighting in and off the elevator once all hell breaks loose was incredibly entertaining.
Kate Bishop, I'm not here to ruin anything. No, Kate, stay. Ah. No. What was that? I don't know.
I'm really looking forward to seeing these two interact and hopefully work together in the coming years, as I can't imagine that Marvel would have so intentionally built their chemistry and buddy cop comedy in this series to not eventually capitalize on it. Seeing Yelena rip Kate's jacket off to reveal her outfit was hilarious, and when Kate actually hit her, I totally thought she was about to get worked in this elevator. But fortunately, it seemed Yelena likes her and has decided to leave her be in so much as possible. The show doesn't quite follow the comics and how things panned out there, but I do think the route they chose was probably much more cinematically appropriate, as in the comics, Clint eventually ended up going head to head with the tracksuits and taking over one of their apartment blocks, where they were manipulating and manhandling the residents, and so Clint took it over and he and Kate had to defend the apartment block with all kinds of ruses and traps with the help of residents to keep out the tracksuits who were storming the building. We do get to see the return of Jack, and as many of us guessed, he ended up just being the unfortunate patsy who Eleanor decided to blame everything on. Seeing as the episode ends with Kate having her mom arrested, I believe we'll see Jack return as maybe some sort of mentor to Kate, but I don't know if we'll ever see him go full swordsman, although we do get to see him in action against the tracksuits. He also eventually seems to join the LARPers at the end of the episode. The final battles didn't disappoint, and although we didn't see Peter Parker swinging through, I did enjoy the many arrow variations Kate and Clint used to put the tracksuits down. Kate eventually goes after her mother, culminating in a one-on-one battle with Kingpin, and Clint finally comes face to face with Yelena. We also see Echo pull up and have her moment with Kazi. For me, the latter interaction was the one I felt needed a bit more buffering out, as I mentioned earlier, but the action was on par with what we've seen. I can't really decide if Maya and Kazi had more of a sibling relationship or a romantic one. But either way, her story ends here with her deciding to put it all behind her. Kate tracks down her mom in the nick of time as Fisk is pulling her out of her getaway car, and we see a cool homage to the Daredevil show as Kate shoots him with an arrow and it does absolutely nothing.
Come here. Let's talk.
Get away from my mom.
We know from the Daredevil show that Fisk wore body armor, and also that his suits are constructed with it. The scenes here worked to me as I didn't really think we'd get to see Kingpin in action in this season at all. So this was just the icing on the cake for me. Eleanor literally hits him with a car and he still somehow gets up. He basically ragdolls Kate as she manages to thwart him in very irritating ways before she finally puts the new trick Clint taught her to use and puts him down for the count. I wasn't sure how I felt about this honestly, as Kate is somewhat of a novice hero at this point, and seeing her go mano a mano with Fisk in her first big outing and getting the better of him just didn't quite sit right with me, especially considering that he damn near killed Matt Murdock several times in hand-to-hand combat. This almost took me completely out of the episode, as it seems the series decided to nerf Kingpin for the advancement of Kate's on-screen prowess, as I believe it wasn't necessary to do so to take Kate to the next level of competency in the eyes of the viewer. But I guess the excuse can be made that it was circumstantial, considering her use of the new medium distance attack trick she learned and a very clever arrangement of scattered arrowheads at his feet. Plus, timeline wise, Fisk could be about 10 years older here. This Kingpin doesn't seem quite as grounded as the one we got from Netflix, as he does seem to be a lot stronger. And finally giving us what we've been waiting for, we see Yelena corner Clint and get him down for the count. The dialogue between them here was okay, as this really turned more into a therapy session for the both of them. For us to have waited the entire season for it though, there wasn't really anything said that told us anything new. It's very obvious they have both, in their own ways, been holding on to Natasha's death for a very long time, and that neither have really accepted the reality of her being gone. Clint explains to Yelena that he tried to stop her, but that Natasha was the best, and if she wanted it done, it was going to happen. It seems they both come to some sort of closure, and I was a bit shocked Yelena didn't at least shoot him for the plot, making her chase him for 6 episodes. I don't expect we'll see Yelena in the next season, as I believe she'll be now venturing off to the Thunderbolt show Marvel has slated, but I wouldn't be shocked if she doesn't return if the show begins to center more on Kate's character. The episode ends with Clint finally giving Kate her flowers and acknowledging that she makes him better, and they both head to the Barton home for the holiday celebrations we've all been waiting for. Clint kept his promise and made it home for Christmas. Directly out of the comics, we see Wilson Fisk limping away, right into the arms of Echo, where they finally have their standoff, which ends in her shooting him. This is actually directly out of the comics, and the standoff there pretty much went the same way, and although they make it seem like he did die, here we know that's probably not the case. In the comics, Kingpin survived this and actually ended up blind, which was really just a cool way to mirror his arch nemesis Daredevil. I for one believe this is the route Marvel is taking, as I can't see them bringing him back just to have him killed off in one episode. I still strongly believe the Echo spinoff show that has been announced may in fact be a Daredevil show, as although I like the Echo character in this series, I don't really see the appeal of her having her own show at this point. It makes much more sense that the show be based on Daredevil and Echo co-stars, as they have very deep history in the comics. And we finally see the end of the Ronin suit. For me, the biggest standout from this section of the episode was Clint returning the Rolex to Laura and telling her she needs to take better care of her stuff. She turns the Rolex over and we see the SHIELD logo, confirming for us that she was a former agent and most likely Bobby Morse, BKA Mockingbird, as I explained her to be in detail in my episode 5 breakdown. This reveal felt very underwhelming, as we spent so much time focused on the Rolex only for it to be barely mentioned before the end of the episode. In closing, episode 6, in my opinion, was a fitting ending to the season. Disney has been very blatant in their marketing about this being a season finale and not a series finale. And with that, I believe we can choose to not judge the season overall too harshly on whether or not if the story ever felt fully flushed out or rushed. I for one enjoyed it for what it was, but I do see the areas of needed improvement others have pointed out. Marvel has set the bar so high on the big screen, as well as the small one now, considering the year they've had of the Disney Plus show rollouts. So for me, Hawkeye did what I believe was intended, furthering Clint Barton's story and Yelena Belova's as well, introducing Kate Bishop and Maya, aka Echo, as well as bringing Kingpin and on a much lower level, Swordsman into the MCU. There are obviously several routes for them to take from here on out, as I don't believe Kingpin is dead based off the way the scene was shot, and whatever route they choose, I think the fandom at large will be happy to see these characters return when they do. We still have the Echo solo series slated to release, and I expect we could see the return of both Kazi and Kingpin there, as we didn't see either of them die on screen. I will of course be continuing to cover all live action Marvel and Star Wars Disney Plus content, and films from all walks of life that I have the pleasure of watching. And if you feel so inclined, I would love to have you back here week in and week out to continue to cover it all with us. Again, guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell for notifications if you've enjoyed our content here tonight. Jump down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And while you're at it, be sure to check out some of the other content here on the channel. All of the necessary links are listed here below for you to keep up with the coming content and shareables. Please be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. Or just the one you use most frequently. We are slowly but surely building a community here, and I would personally love for you to be a part of that. And last but not least, we have a merch store. So whether you see something you like or just simply want to support the channel, head on over to our shop and grab something. Or grab everything. But again, thank you so much, guys and gals, for visiting here with us today. I really appreciate each and every viewing minute of your time you've given us. There's loads of content we'll be sending your way, so I'll be seeing you. But for now, be blessed. And it was written.
Across the nighttime, the city sleep inside. Yeah, hear her voice shake my window, sweet seduce inside. Yeah, send me out into the nighttime. Four walls won't hold me tonight.